Alright, another day, another night of distracting myself from the various problems in my life by playing World of Warcraft. Let's see what I can complain about today. The WoW token? Did I tell them so, by the way, yet this week? You see, back during the re-release of Classic, Blizzard made something of a little promise that... What am I doing with my life? I've been in this cycle for 20 years now. 2 decades of putting things off. I could have spent all that time making mad games, learning skills, exploring the world. A real world filled with possibility and excitement. You know what? It all ends today. I think it's about time to be responsible and take a break from that addiction. And replace it with another. For the very first time, I'm going to be playing Runescape. But I still told you so, by the way. I'll be honest, I missed the boat on this one. My MMO footprint in the early days was first Phantasy Star on the Xbox, but it was offline because at the time I couldn't convince my parents to let me buy the Hunter's license, which was the subscription fee that allowed you to play with other players. After that, I stepped foot into the one and only, probably what many people consider to be the greatest MMO of all time, Star Wars Galaxies. And then there's this other one that I kind of messed around with casually for 20 years and made 600 videos about it. I don't know. It was bad. For those of you familiar with the channel, you know that I'm a depressed classic Andy. Aside from desperately trying to recapture a time of my life when it was much better, there's a certain innocent charm to the classic MMO style that's always appealed to me. So when I heard that old school RuneScape was launching, as someone who yearned for the good old days, I was a bit envious. Apparently not enough to actually play it though, which brings us to today in 2024, where for the first time I'm going to play old school RuneScape and share my impressions on it as a lifelong World of Warcraft addict. The first thing I want to say though is that this video is sponsored, but it's done under the understanding that I can say whatever the F I want, even criticisms. Those of you who watched my Jimmy React a few months back might remember I was planning on making this anyways. The second thing I'll say is that this is all completely blind. When I say I've never played it before, not only have I never played it, I've never even watched videos on it. No streams, nothing, aside I guess from Jimmy's video about RuneScape and nostalgia. And additionally, I have decided that I'm only going to use whatever in-game resources I have to figure things out. But being a professional gamer, I don't anticipate in having any problems. Right? So the first thing I noticed, and that any Azeroth native will notice, is that there's no class selection, which may seem foreign, but as far as I know, this was more common during the pre-WoW era. Yeah, that's right. It was so popular that it splits the entire genre into before and after. Interesting to note though that there are no alts. It's just one account, one character. In fact, there isn't even a permanent realm selection and players are free to switch about, kind of like layer hopping from World of Warcraft. Yeah, I'm going to be making a lot of comparisons to WoW, by the way, if you haven't guessed that. Hopefully it's not too annoying, but I kind of played it for 2 decades, so it's just sort of how my brain works now. Speaking of being in WoW mentality, the first thing I did was swipe my credit card. RuneScape runs on a free-to-play model with no cash shops, but limited, where certain quests and items are locked to memberships, which is the subscription fee. I actually canceled my WoW sub though. I'm quitting forever again, if you didn't hear yet. So my mom was cool with, I was cool with subscribing to this one instead. The only things you choose during character creation is your name and appearance. Glad to see that they have the World of Warcraft streamer haircut. As you're probably aware, this is an isometric MMORPG, meaning that you click to move from a top-down view, similar to what was at that point another popular MMO, Ultima Online. And just to put things into perspective here, RuneScape was originally released in January of 2001, so the landscape of popular MMOs right now, at least in the West, would be games like Ultima Online, EverQuest. It's still the early internet era. Most families are sharing one computer, which is probably running on AOL and is infested with viruses because somebody keeps visiting these scandalous websites. There's no YouTube nor Twitch, Guide websites are sparse and poorly done, and the most you had really was your own wit and fellow players to guide you, so that's the mindset I'm going to be trying to replicate. And in fact, I won't even look at the comments of this video, so if you guys call me a monotone fuck, you'll probably get away with it. So there's this NPC at the start of the game to teach you the ropes, so naturally I ignore him, and the first thing I do is go Elder Scrolls mode and attempt to steal everything that isn't nailed down. But unfortunately, much like how I feel on the inside, everything is empty. Okay, well, what's the point of this? Ooh, here's this big chest. I bet you want to click on it and get all the loot. Oh, just kidding. You bastards. Oh wait, this is a sponsored video? Oh, I mean, that's a really good way to teach you that you can click on things in the environment. This is Tutorial Island, the very start of the game where the entire goal is to teach you how to play. Here you learn the basics. Right outside you're taught how to fish. World first 300 fishing in the recreation of a 15-year-old video game, by the way. How to cut down trees, and how to start a fire to cook the fish, which when consumed heals you. Yeah, food is the way of healing yourself. They went the Elder Scrolls route where you down 30 cheese wheels in between swings and you're good to go.
You gotta eat the lettuce, just straight up eat the lettuce.
The game operates on a skill system where by doing these things you get better at doing these things. The more you fish, the higher level areas you can fish, the better fish you catch, which heal you more. The more you lumberjack, the better at lumberjacking you are. Yeah, I know, it's a total ripoff of New World. This is what we call a sandbox. In BW, this was the standard of the genre. Players would be thrust into this giant world. They were given little direction and were just told to go get 'em, champ. Is a subgenre where the world is your oyster, and though you have little direction, that means you also have more freedom. And it was only AW when the magic formula was found, and all of this shifted towards theme park and linearity. So you learn how to cook, how to mine, smelt, craft, melee combat, ranged combat, magic. All pretty straightforward. Melee combat has some stuff going on with stances, which gives you different XP, depending on which one you pick. You have offensive styles, defensive styles, and considering I'm a Zug, I'm mainly interested in increasing that damage, so I'm just going to hang out in the plus sword icon so my damage increases. Right? Beyond the skill system, you're taught how to use all of the other features expected from an MMO, such as quests, how to use the bank. The latter is where you learn about the polls. Even if you haven't played old school RuneScape, you've probably heard about this. This is the game's Classic Plus, but instead of releasing features where players stay in one area and do the same quests over and over to go from level 40 to 50 in the span of 5 hours while earning 1500 gold, these features are released with the intent to maintain the spirit of vanilla RuneScape. So how it works is that the developers present these features and the community as a whole votes on them, and if they pass a certain threshold, they will be developed into the game. And I'm sure this polling system isn't perfect, but I think that the communities of these games are too often disregarded, and while the customer isn't always right, there's still value to be drawn from the neckbeard hive mind that have been hopelessly addicted to your game. So those are the major updates, but from what I'm to understand, it does also get updated weekly. Some of them can be as minor as balance updates, and as major as entire new continents or systems, one of which is Iron Man mode, where if you talk to this NPC just outside, you can enable permanent character death. That's all well and good, but probably not a good idea for my first character, so I'm gonna save that for another time maybe. So, wait, what the fuck? And with that, you depart Tutorial Island, and you're off into the great beyond. You're given a little direction in the form of adventure paths where, by leveling up some core skills, you're given items and gold and gear to start you off until you get a good footing on the game. I'm given a set of iron armaments, and I'm off to find my first quest. Opening the map, I find just how huge the world is. The starting town here is called Lumbridge, which, when fully zoomed out, is a pale blue dot within the world of Gielinor, which is the medieval realm that RuneScape is based around, and wow, this is a big game with a lot going on. Looks like my map has herpes. Well, the only way to clear it is to clear it. I go to the nearest quest, indicated by these blue and white icons on the map, and I talk to this old man. His name is Vios, a treasure hunter from the wondrous kingdom of Great Korend. He has a treasure map and has tracked it down to the town of Lumbridge, so naturally he entrusts it to a stranger that he met 10 seconds ago. Yeah, my first quest isn't to kill 10 boars or collect cactus apples. It's a treasure hunt. You're given a scroll, and you're told to buy a shovel because Vios is also a cheap dick. We buy the shovel from a general store just nearby, and I use it as an opportunity to clear my inventory of my bad gear and learn the shop interface a bit. I decide to hold on to my pot for now, and I use the scroll to reveal the following message. Within the town of Lumbridge lives a man named Bob. He walks out of his door and takes 1 step east, 7 steps north, 5 steps west, and 1 step south. Once he arrives, he digs a hole and buries his treasure. I think about it for a bit, and I say, screw that, let's F up some goblins. Yeah, I think I might have ADHD, by the way, I don't know. I eventually regain my focus, and I scour the town for the elusive Bob, checking every house and mousing over every NPC for about 30 minutes, until I find out he was 5 steps away from my starting position near the graveyard. He's the axe salesman of the village. I follow the scroll's instructions, and I dig up a treasure scroll. It shows a map of a building where X marks the spot, and opening the in-game map, I find pretty quickly that it's the castle right where you were left in Lumbridge, and wandering behind it near the X and digging a little bit, I find a mysterious orb that's cold to the touch. Bringing it to Vios, he tells me that it's basically a game of hot and cold where the closer you are to the treasure, the hotter the orb becomes, and this is pretty intense for a first quest. I mean, it's not necessarily complicated or anything, but it's just such a stark contrast to how babied gamers are these days. You know, games that are advertised as grand adventures lead you around step by step with yellow paint, deathly afraid of players getting lost and having to use their brain to figure stuff out. And as it happens to turn out, I can't figure this quest out. I followed the orb to this building surrounded by these dudes who are angry at the world because they're bald. And what the F? I can't fight them. I could fight everything else. Why can't I fight these guys? I try running past them, and I enter the sewers that has even more stuff I can't click on. So I just figure that maybe this is just a high-level quest that I happen to pick up that I have to come back to. I'm just gonna kill some goblins for now. I did this for a while, in fact, to see if maybe I could level up more to fight the baldies. So I start leveling up my attack, which should result in me doing more damage. Right? I do take a break and explore a little bit. I see more quests around me, but in an effort to not overwhelm my primitive monkey brain and to also save my ego a bit, I don't want to immediately give up on the first effing quest I encountered in a genre of game I've been playing since my childhood. So I just kind of take in the sights and enjoy the music. Speaking of which, that's probably one of the most charming things about this game. I'm not really sure how to explain it. It sort of sounds like an 8th grade music student's project. If that music student was Mozart, I love it. The trumpets and the flutes, and it has this medieval composition, but it was made in a MIDI player. It's catchy, and despite the fact that this is my first time playing, it's oddly nostalgic. Combining that with the sound effects, the game's audio overall is S tier, in my opinion. I'm totally going to be using it in future videos. I decide to take a break from killing goblins and level up my fishing right near Lumbridge. I find some other players doing the same thing. I don't talk to them because I have social anxiety, and it's here where I realized that RuneScape is a great idle game. You just click on a spot to fish and then switch back to your trading card game shop simulator and stand in the corner ripping packs like a goblin while your minimum wage employees do all the work. Eventually I have enough of this and I head back into town for some more goblin slaying. Hey, I leveled up my attack. I bet this time I'll do 2 damage per swing now. Okay, maybe another level or 2. I slay more goblins until I reach level 5, at which point I return to my adventure path NPC for my reward, which is a steel longsword. Okay, weapon upgrade. Now I'll definitely deal 1 damage? Okay, pardon my French here, but what the F? I go visit the Baldies again, who remain unimpressed by my meager progression. But hang on, this is the first quest. Clearly there's something I'm not getting. I give the orb a more thorough investigation, and I find that this isn't where the treasure is at all. Rather, it leads me to a nearby village, I dig once more to reveal another scroll that gives me a cipher. Ez Pizaps Kujikafo. I bring this back to Vios, who gives me a hint to shift the letters over once. I think about it for a while, try to puzzle it out, realize I'm too stupid, and go back to killing goblins. I level up my attack again, continue to deal 1 damage. I do this all the way until level 20, where I complete my last adventure path quest for attack, and I get this amazing mithril sword, crafted from the heart of a volcano held within the lands of... and I'm still dealing 1 damage. Cool. Whatever, I'm chilling. I got my trading card game running, waiting for the next Pokemon lawsuit. For a little variety, I decide to switch grinding spots. I start attacking higher level enemies in the swamp, which actually deal damage to me now, so I need to be stocked on heals. But that's not a problem because there's a fishing spot nearby, so it's a nice cozy little grinding spot where I'm leveling up my combat, fishing, cooking, and logging all at once. I figure the best thing I can do is focus on my adventure path, so now that I've maxed out attack, despite only dealing 1 damage still, I switch to defense so I can make the grind a little bit more hands-free so I can focus on more important things. I get my defense to 15 doing this, and decide to switch up my stances again, so now I'm getting strength levels, and oh my god. I'm dealing 2 damage! Oh my god, I'm dealing 2 damage. Okay, so before you make fun of me, let's just get this straight for a moment. Upgrading a skill called attack level and equipping higher level weapons in a role-playing game doesn't increase your damage. I don't know, maybe they said this in the tutorial. I'm a warrior main. Reading isn't really my strong suit. Speaking of which, I've realized I've been grinding here for about 5 hours, and I just now realized that there's a quest right next to me. There's this couple who barely escaped an island with their lives. Apparently there's a murderer running afoot, and they're asking me to rescue their friend. So now that I'm dealing 2 damage per hit, I'm feeling pretty cocky. I load up on healing items, and I depart to what seems like a Scooby-Doo mansion. There's an NPC outside, and wait, what the F? A cutscene? The villain from the Scream movies walks up behind him and gives him an aggressive back scratch, and he has a Mustafa-esque drawn-out death, and he very conveniently drops a key to the mansion in a barrel in front of him. Gaining access to the mansion, I'm ready to F stuff up. Full inventory of healing items, dealing 2 damage, and it's another puzzle. There are a bunch of doors with colored knobs that you have to figure out how to open. But despite my previous failure, I do have some measure of confidence, being a lifetime survival horror fan. The environment's very Resident Evil-esque, so let's just give it a shot here. Trying the pink door, we witness another murder. The killer taunts you by leaving a clue for you to solve. Isn't murder a work of art? Beautiful, yet haunting, like the blade of a knife, as we wander through the Valley of Death. There's a knife on the table just entering the mansion, and there are a few paintings placed around, so my guess is that you have to cut them open. Because I do have the problem-solving skills of a child, I'm correct. In the room right next door, there's a painting of a valley, and upon using the knife, we get the red key, which grants us access to a room with a broken wall and a barrel of gunpowder. So, obviously we have to light it. I search the crates to no avail. The next room has some wardrobes, which I saw the killer use to travel, but they're all empty. And I'm stumped for a few minutes until I pan my camera to see that there's a shelf of tinder approximately 1 foot away from the barrel. And I also had tinder in my inventory the whole time. But it's not that easy. The balls are inert. I mean, the fuse is damp, and it won't light. I try to light a campfire on top of it, and talk about World of Warcraft in an attempt to dry it out, but it doesn't seem to work. Eventually I find that there are unlit candles in the room, and lighting them all warms the room up enough for the fuse to be lit. Apparently the roaring fire right on top of it wasn't enough, but okay, suppose that makes sense. So we blow a hole in the wall and progress to witness another murder. He leaves yet another note, which reads, "It's like music to my ears, the glorious sounds spelling out your fate." This part was pretty easy, honestly. There's a piano nearby and I spill out the only thing that makes sense, D-E-A-D. I do play a bit of piano. I have very dexterous fingers. Ladies. In fact, the background music you're listening to right now is by yours truly, so please compliment me, even though I won't see it because I'm not going to read comments. But by solving this puzzle, it opens up a compartment in the piano that gives you the green key, which grants access to another room where we witness another murder. The note this time reads, "Hear at first these words, Each murder you witness helplessly from start to end. As you fail to solve the final letters of this quiz, razor sharp like a gemstone is the blade of my knife. The last sound you will hear will be of your scream's echo. Heed that I will have the final word in this thriller. Immediately I noticed that the first letter of each line spell out hearth, so I know it has something to do with the fireplace. There are 3 of them that I can reach, and I interact with them in every way, but nothing really seems to work. Have you ever played escape games and you get desperate enough to where you just randomly try combining objects? Aha! It must be the rubber chicken with the clock. Well, I tried that. I tried to light the unlit fireplace. I tried the fish. I tried dousing the others. I was stumped for a good while until, after reading the note for the 50th time, I took notice to this line. Razor sharp like a gemstone is the blade of my knife, so I try the knife with the fireplace, and lo and behold, a switch panel is revealed with 6 gemstones. A diamond, onyx, zenite, ruby, sapphire, and emerald. Looking at the note once more, the answer lies within this line, as you failed to solve the final letters of this quiz. S for sapphire, D for diamond, Z for zenite, E for emerald, O for onyx, and R for ruby. So clicking these in that order reveals the final key, where you face off mano a mano against the killer in a form of another puzzle. You're in a room with 4 wardrobes and a movable mirror, and he throws daggers from the wardrobes. Pretty simple, as you probably guessed. You push the mirror to reflect the daggers back at him. Upon victory, you come to realize that he is a she. The culprit this whole time was the quest giver, who has a hatred for adventurers and their main character syndrome. The guy she was with was also in on it, and they're about to gank you until they get into an argument, which distracts them long enough for what we thought was another victim to stab them with the sword of 1,000 truths. And that's it. As a reward, you get a quest point, XP, some gems, and this was awesome. As far as the standards are for MMOs, even today, this was one of the coolest quests I've ever done. Like I said, I didn't look anything up, so I was feeling rather proud of myself for my accomplishment of elementary puzzle solving. But that, along with the cutscenes, it was presented very well, and this would be a theme for the rest of my gameplay, I would find. As I continued to level my strength and started dealing more than 1 damage, I revisited Lumbridge and went on a questing orgy. I exorcised a ghost, I slayed a vampire, I saved a guy from being turned into a chicken, and I found a magic sword and slayed a demon. Some quests were easy, some took hours to figure out, and others stumped me completely. Like this one where I'm supposed to find this cat. I found her, but the bastard won't let me pick her up. Her kittens are mewing in these crates, but no matter how many times I try, I can't pick it up. And the quest NPCs don't really give me any information, and I'm stumped, I'll be honest. You know, Jimmy made a video a while back saying how RuneScape doesn't need nostalgia, and that it stands on its own 2 feet. And I know that I've only really scratched the surface here, but I gotta say that I agree. The world is huge. The little quests I've done are some of the most interesting and fun that I've played in MMOs, even by today's standards. As it turns out, there's like this huge series scene with RuneScape on YouTube, and I definitely understand why now. The quests in this game actually have something to them. Isn't that the most serious thing in the world, but there are these narratives and storylines, and even if they are silly, they feel like adventures and they're quite memorable. The music is awesome, the systems and skills are interesting and unique, and the game just oozes charm from every orifice, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. They weren't jagging off when they made this. It's not perfect, nothing ever is. I feel like the traveling at times can get really laborious. You see, you have something of a stamina meter right here in the top right, which depletes when you run. And when it's out, you walk, and you walk very slowly. I know why it's done. It's the same as with no flying in old Azeroth. It's to make the world seem big, and the world does seem big in this game. I'm not even saying that it's a flaw, but sometimes I do find myself getting bored traveling from point A to point B.
3 days later. 3 weeks later. Many months later.
I am sure there are ways to improve it. I know that you can teleport if you level up magic, or maybe if you run naked or something, it drains slower, or maybe there's an item or a potion that you can get or craft, but as someone who's trying to not look anything up, I personally have not found it yet. The game also has bonds, which are the equivalent of the WoW token. You buy them with gold and use them to gain membership time, or you can buy them with real money and then sell them for gold in the auction house. So there is a paid element here. Those of you who've watched, I don't know, one video on my channel probably know I don't care for stuff like this. Told you so, by the way. I think it kind of defeats the purpose of an RPG if you're able to buy progression. It sort of feels like the most efficient way to progress is with your wallet instead of your time, which isn't as satisfying. I guess I don't care about it as much in RuneScape because I'm not emotionally attached to it like I am with WoW, for one, but also just because I'm not familiar with it really. Like in Classic, it's really bad because combined with GDKPs and arena carries, you can literally buy the best gear in the game with your credit card. It's like, are there even raids in RuneScape? Do they have the best gear? Are there GDKP runs? Is the PvP competitive? I don't know, I just can't imagine watching a RuneScape PvP video and being like, oh my god, bro, did you see how he switched from lunge to slash? That was some top tier shit.
Wake me up inside. Wake me up inside.
I don't know. So that's probably up in the air depending on how you play or what you care about. I guess for me at this stage in the game, I don't really see it affecting me. But all in all, it's a fun game. I'm kind of addicted, actually. I even got it on my effing phone. This could be a series if you guys like it enough. I would say let me know, but like I said, I'm not going to look at the comments of this video, but I don't know, we'll see. What I do know is that it has a lot of charm. If you do want to check out old school RuneScape, either on desktop or mobile, click my links in the description and the pinned comment. Like I said, it's free to play with bonuses and more content for members, and from a lifelong World of Warcraft player, it gets my seal of approval. And it came at a good time because I recently broke up with my girlfriend, so I see no better option than to spend my time being a depressed middle-aged man grinding goblins in the recreation of a 20-year-old video game.
Farewell for now, mortals. We hope you enjoyed today's video. See you again soon.